Can you hear me? Yes? No? No. Pretty sure I'm on. Yes? Um, yeah, I'm pretty good at projecting. Please let me know if you cannot hear me from the back of the room. I'm going to ask for a motion to open this meeting under Policy 71, Emergency Meetings, which states emergency meetings called in compliance with state law shall be held at the call of the chairperson or vice chairperson upon notice of such emergency meetings being given to all members of the board, clerk, and superintendent. A quorum must be present to conduct business. Minutes of these meetings will be kept by the clerk. Can I have such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? So just need to do a little bit of housekeeping why we are here tonight. As many of you know, there was an incident at the high school earlier today regarding some exposure to dust, and we needed to verify that the school was safe. For that reason, we could not have our general regularly scheduled meeting at the high school. It was, I didn't think appropriate to ask the public to come to a meeting that we had needed to take some actions about whether or not it was safe several hours earlier. So we are now having this meeting tonight as an emergency meeting under the cited policy. We will, at the end of this meeting, I hope, be able to reschedule our regularly scheduled meeting that we canceled tonight for another date. First, let me say that the health and safety of our staff and our students remains and will always remain our paramount concern. I'd like to thank Mr. Mendes, Chief Lloyd, our contractors from Aalborg, in particular Drew Sidlowski and Jude Fairbanks, as well as Mr. Ashley and Ms. Baldock and their, and as well as the teachers and the staff in their response to the event earlier today and their decision making. I'm going to ask first for an update from Dr. Sanchioni, and then invite Chief Lloyd or Mr. Fairbanks or Mr. Sidlowski to give us any other additional information, and then I'll open it up to the committee as a whole. Because we are posted as an emergency meeting, we do not have an open forum tonight. However, we will allow questions from the public after we've sort of heard everybody out. Okay? So, Dr. Sanchioni.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to update you on the construction as a whole, and I'll start with on a positive note. As you sit here in the middle school right now, you're experiencing the actual new heating system being employed, and you're experiencing it at the way it was designed to work with controlled temperatures in all areas of the building. Certainly the building is being well maintained. Up until this point, the middle school, like the high school, was under a portable heater. Those systems were working exceptionally well. You know, some varied heat in certain parts of the building, but for the most part, the building was well heated. And also want to express to you today that we tested both of those heaters here today for air quality with the help of Aalborg, and both of those results came back positive for no contaminants at all. So the middle school is in great shape. We've got new heat here, and actually we'll be pulling those temporary heaters out of here away from this building this evening. At the high school, we have a similar situation where we are heating the building with temporary heaters. Today, and up to this point till today, that was working well. Again, some varied heat in certain sections of the building, but overall it was fine. We had done air quality tests with the fire department last Friday. All those tests came back negative. Today, however, while the heater, when the back of the building, sort of located near where my office is, was on, there was some construction going on with the cutting of the brick. And that heater pulled that dust into its system and then moved it through the building with the hot air. And so we had dust in the building. It came in on the bottom floor, came up through the through a stairwell onto the second floor, and also up onto the third floor. Immediately, Ms. Bolduck noticed this, had the heater shut down, called the fire department. The fire department arrived again and did extensive air quality tests, and again confirmed there were no contaminants in that air. We work with the masonry company, and they had one of their safety experts come on site and again assure us that that dust, although an irritant, and I don't want to minimize it, I'm going to tell you that it's an irritant to eyes and in your throat, but was not toxic, was not harmful in a way that really could hurt a human being. However, we did know that there was a lot of dust in the building. After consulting with Aalborg, we asked them on the conditions where if this was something worse than what it's being told of us, what would be the appropriate steps to take. And we were told that we would wash all the walls, all the lockers, all the floors from the top to the bottom of the building, which is what we're doing right now. We took that as a precautionary step because certainly, as Mr. Lockett has already said, Dr. Lockett has said, the safety and security of our students is paramount to us, and we want to take that step. Even though it may not have been required, it was the right thing to do. So right now that building is in that process of being cleaned from top to bottom. We also did some more extensive air quality tests this afternoon just to take it to the full extent, and those results are due back to us tomorrow afternoon. So we've done a lot of testing, and again, I want to assure the committee that we've done testing throughout this project. I've looked at these results. We've tested for asbestos, came back negative. We tested air quality tests in August, came back negative. We did tests last Friday, came back negative. We did tests this morning, came back negative. We did mold testing, came back negative. So we continue to be assured by experts that that building is safe. Now again, I don't want to minimize what happened today. A lot of dust came into the building. Recognize that caused some people to have eyes irritated. Again, their throats felt awkward, things of that nature. A number of students were dismissed as a result of that. And as a result of that student population, what I witnessed, and I was in the high school, it was about 30 students around 10:30, and I noticed that more students were coming down to the office. And so rather than continue to exacerbate that, I made the decision to dismiss early. And by dismissing early, it helped us in a number of ways. A, no more students were going to be affected by this. It also gave us a head start on the cleaning, and it also allowed us to keep that heater off, which again, one section of the building was not going to have any heat. So for those three reasons, I believe it was the right course of action to take. So let me pause there. I'll look to my left, to my friends from Aalborg, and see if there's anything else you want to add to that.
Thank you, Peter. No, I believe you covered everything. Also, just to add upon what he said, I did run an air test today in the high school. It's a 24-hour turnover, the fastest you can get it turned over. We did a swab test, air test, nuisance dust, silica, and a wipe test in the high school. I did that about 4 o'clock today. I should have the results around 3, 4 o'clock tomorrow.
These tests were performed by Vortex Environmental Contractors, which they are considered one of the top air and asbestos and environmental testing firms in the state. They performed the testing before this project started for the Tiverton school department, and for RGB, the architect, and they also have been performing the tests as we've proceeded with the project.
Thank you. Questions on the part of the committee?
I'll hear from Chief Lloyd first.
Chief Lloyd, any comments or sort of?
We did receive today a call, came in from our fire prevention office, that there were numerous students that we responded up. We met with the doctor and started trying to figure out what the situation was. So there were a lot of moving pieces, and as we spoke about earlier, in the safety, the paramount of everything was for the kids and the staff, to make sure everybody was okay. It took a little bit to identify what it is. We had to get a lot of resources. You'll see things on social media about different people that were there. We did call in the state hazmat offices to try to give us some guidance. We spoke with the Department of Health to have them give us air quality samples of what we were going to be looking for, to make sure that we could work with the contractor and find out exactly what had happened. I do want to mention that a very good friend of mine who is the fire chief from New Bedford, we were having some trouble finding particular pieces of equipment, and I reached out to Chief Gomes in New Bedford, and without question, he pulled some of his hazmat people and sent them to the school to assist us. So that was huge, having them there, their technician and their equipment, to make that happen. Even our own state hazmat people were having problems to find that. But I think the course of action that you've taken now, or where you're going to go with this, is appropriate. And again, the overwhelming concern was for the safety of everyone inside the building. and I think everybody worked together to do that. And I know there are probably a lot of parents who have questions and concerns. I know it's out there, and I'll be more than glad to answer any questions anybody has about it.
Okay. Again, thank you for your prompt and frequent response and all your staff. Thank you. Mrs. Black? No?
I have a couple of questions. I've heard a number of reports of smells, not only today, but over the last few days. Can Albarg make any comment to that?
The smells would be, it's just a heating smell. Just like your new system is coming online, we bring them online at night. The best way I can describe it is everyone's bought a new car. When you buy a new car, it has different smells versus what you had previously. So with that being said, to reduce the smell, and there's nothing toxic about it, it's just a different smell. It's like the first time you turn the heat on in your house, or when you switch from AC to heat mode. It changes the smell in your house and in a building. So we start the boilers at night so that you do not have that smell during the school days, because the boilers are running right now here at this school. You are on permanent heat. The temporary heaters, those are also basic way, it's like a heater in your home. It's just temporary, it's mobile. So the same thing. You know, it's discharged through a heat retardant pipe into the school. So yes, it does have a different odor than anyone would be used to previously in the school of the heating system you had last winter. So it does have a different smell, and your new heating system at both schools is going to be different than anyone has experienced before. I mean, before we came here and did this, your school was running wide open. Open the windows to cool it down. So now you're running on a system that's controlled. That sometimes you're going to have, the heater's not going to be blowing hot air because it's already got the room to temperature. You know, energy-wise, it's going to save you there. But it is a different operation than you previously had years before. So it will be it's a very noticeable change.
How close are we also to having the high school's boiler up and running
Thursday,
of this week?
yes.
Early Thursday, late Thursday.
I will not start them during the day. I'll start them at
So we have basically 2 more days?
night. Yep, middle school's running as we speak. We started up about 2 hours ago. You can walk around anywhere in the school. We're producing heat. That's your permanent heat. And the same thing will happen Thursday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Polish?
So, the temporary heaters are burning the diesel. I think that's.
No, home heating oil.
Is it home heating oil? Okay.
Same that's burning in your school right now.
All right. So would it be similar to when my heat goes out in the winter and I burn my generator? You get that, or no?
No.
Just a very different.
It wouldn't be. We're not pulling any exhaust in. We've
Okay.
done every CO2 test. There's no carbon monoxide coming to the building. It's pretty much a boiler in your home on wheels, used
Okay.
for this reason,
It's
for temporary heat.
It's the same thing as having a forced hot air system in your home, except for instead of the boiler blowing into your ductwork, it's blowing through portable ductwork, which is, reaches into the school.
So, I don't have any more questions necessarily for them, but I do have a comment. I am a little concerned, even though all of them have come back clean, that we aren't going to get results back until tomorrow at 4-ish.
That is we've
No, I
FedExed
know.
them out tonight.
It is what it is.
It is
Yep.
the fastest turnaround you could get.
Yep.
Usually it's about a 48-hour turnaround.
No,
So
no, I appreciate that, but I do want to express that concern that, especially where, we did have, significant dust and, things going on. So was it cement or was it brick?
It was brick.
It was brick.
yes.
So, the person that we had come out and give us the full opinion from the masonry company that was doing the work is a 40-year professional that is literally their entire job is safety management for companies such as Fioli Masonry and any other sort of companies that they do it for, mainly masonry.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe I can interject and maybe put Ms. Palish's and all of your concerns on that to rest. So factoring in that heater that did take in the dust is now offline. Factoring in that the school is being completely cleaned from top to bottom, but may not be finished by the time we open tomorrow, and taking into the fact that those results, although we anticipate them to come back clean, will not be in hand until 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I am going to cancel school at Tiverton High School for tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that sort of takes that question away. Yeah.
I think, given everything, that's the right answer.
Yeah, and just to sort of gloss that a little bit, those tests that are outstanding are for exposure to the dust and silica, not carbon monoxide or nitrogen dioxide or any other more toxic fume that we would be concerned about.
No, the tests that went to the lab are nuisance dust swab test, which is also a
So tell me what a swab test is, because
It's
I'm not
a
sure.
wipe test. He wiped 4 or 5 areas in the school. He'll wipe the floor, top of a door jamb,
Looking for,
and send that sample, and it'll test what types of dust are found in that sample he took on his swab.
okay,
And he run an air cassette like we have previous times in both schools. That cartridge will go to the testing.
Right.
They'll test it for all the nuisance dust and silica.
Okay.
The carbon monoxide meters, he also has that, and he is also bringing in a reader that'll read 5 different levels of nitrogen dioxide, LEEs, and he's going to have that tomorrow. So when I do start the temporaries up, he's going to be there. We're going to test them throughout the day multiple times to make sure that there's not discharging any kind of odor. The odors, it smells different, but it's not discharging any toxins into the school.
so just to go over again, so there was this exposure of dust from bricks being cut.
Yep.
Testing for carbon monoxide, other fumes today was negative.
Correct.
We have done sort of environmental sampling by swabs looking for any exposures in that dust that might perpetuate some sort of condition or problem.
Correct.
We are actually doing the remediation that we would do even if those tests came back positive.
Correct. It's called
Tonight.
a wet wipe down.
Right,
Yes.
right. And that tomorrow, when you're bringing other things online, the temporary heaters, you will be testing for noxious fumes or
Correct.
potentially, toxic fumes as you are bringing those temporary heaters
Correct.
into play at the high school.
Where we are, I'm going to take the temporary heaters here that were tested
Right.
today, and I'm going to bring them to the high school.
And
And
then
then I'm going to retest them all again.
we anticipate, and it's useful saying again in this setting, the issue here was that we were late in getting certain types of equipment to install the boilers because of the hurricane in Florida. And they are now available, and we are now actually bringing the boilers in the middle school right now are sort of generating heat. They're up and running.
Yes.
And we expect that the boilers in the high school will probably start up on Thursday night if we, continue to work through tomorrow and Thursday.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Elaine, I'm sorry you sort of missed a little bit of this, but I don't want you to not have an opportunity to ask your questions either, so.
I have a question, it's something I've been thinking about. Do we have all the do we have everything in now that we needed, all the equipment to get the boilers up and running? So they've
Yes.
arrived, they're being installed in this building now, or they are already installed?
They're
installed in this
Okay.
building and running.
Okay,
All the equipment's at the high school.
okay,
This is Dave McCary, he is the owner of Extra Mechanical, doing all the boiler installs.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Black?
Thank you.
Okay,
everybody
anything
for
else, Elaine?
coming to help us and working together. I really appreciate it. Gotten a lot of phone calls, and I think the answers are good that we're getting tonight.
Anything else to add, Diane? Okay. So now if anyone from the public or staff or would like to come up, just ask that you identify yourself and ask your question. Okay.
I believe they're being tested at St. Air in Boston. As far as I know, no. Yep, there you go. I'm going to provide the results to the school.
Can we
The
just
Department of Health.
protocol in our meetings? Could you direct the questions through the chair, please? I know, but just direct them to the chair and then he can, we don't like our guests.
Yep. So my understanding is there were actually multiple assessments made in multiple spots in the building, but I'm going to ask Chief Lloyd to maybe give an answer to that question.
What was tested for initially, we were tested for oxygen level, CO, hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen cyanide, propane, and methane. We were all tested for and all came back negative. As we did the study, we did contact OSHA. OSHA was not coming out because it comes under the Rhode Island Department of Health. The Rhode Island Department of Health was notified their air quality specialist. Their air quality specialist was on conference call with us, gave us a direction to go into to look for a particular compound that comes off as part of combustion from the heating unit. There's two things, nitrogen dioxide and you'll get carbon monoxide. So they gave us an area to look for, the problem of finding the particular item to find the nitrogen dioxide, which is not that's where we went with. We brought in the hazmat unit to try to find one through the Rhode Island hazmat unit. They did not have one. I just happened to have a friend I know who was a hazmat tech in Tiverton has been told, and he sent one right down, and then we were very quickly able to find. At that point, we had removed every child from the school and employee, because that was the least that that was the last thing we wanted to be worrying about. Everybody worked together to move them to a safe location, and then we could just worry about the building itself. And once we found that all the units were shut down, the protocol that they were using to clean up from that silicon dust, and the dust that may have come from the brick, is the appropriate level to take. At this point, as far as the nitrogen dioxide, the air just moving through the building, there's no residual left in the building. I hope they have they're using, I understand they'll be using under their industrial hygienist, he has to certify that the building's clean. He has to give the school committee clean certificate for that building. So he has to go through all their tests and see what they do. Using the wet wipes to keep it down, that's the method that he would use to clean up any of the dust. I hope that answers the question. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Chief.
Thank you.
Hi, Renee.
It really depends on what stage of the planning you're talking about, but well, at the beginning was many years ago. But at any rate, when sort of shovel hit the earth, I would say, early to mid-November. So in the next several weeks, and that's sort of where we are. Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, the probably best analogy I can give you is that we are trying to fix a car while we're driving it. We can't shut down the school for an entire year and send kids somewhere else. Or maybe we could if we had unlimited funds. Maybe the answer to your question is, it has always been part of the plan that some of this work is going to be being done during the school year, yes.
Was it always part of the plan that including elements that were going to be brought in until mid-October?
That is, yes, that is when we anticipated the boilers going online, was the week of October 15th, and that was consistent with, you know, sort of.
Well, before that, so that it could be online, but we obviously couldn't have anticipated a hurricane that delayed the parts. But
Right.
it was always that it was going to be online by the 15th.
Getting into some of the specifics of that, and maybe Jude or Drew can give an even better answer than I can, but there is actually a cost to getting some of the equipment here, and so we could have perhaps, I guess, gotten boilers in 2015 and had them here ready to go in. But there were actually financial considerations even about getting certain parts here ahead of time. I know Drew
I mean,
or Jude, you can.
it's not
sort of-
unlike, it was explained to me, it's not unlike you don't, when you're redoing your bathrooms, you don't cut your countertops until you're ready to install them. You don't have them sitting in your basement. You get your countertops cut according to a schedule, and then you bring them in.
Right.
It's not just a boiler.
Right.
I mean, it's a lot more intricate than just a boiler that burns home heating oil and pumps heat. The boilers have been on site, I believe, since August. The boilers have been in place since August. It's all the other parts and pieces. The boiler is the easy part. It's all the controls, the computerization, the automation, running all the control iron, giving all the systems to talk to each other to operate is where we just finished tonight. We turned the boilers on here about 2 hours ago.
This isn't your typical just, turn the boilers on, let the system run. You guys,
It's a totally integrated system.
very high-tech, top-of-the-line system that we've installed here.
But as a parent and as a taxpayer, I think all the parts should have been here before we was really cross, before we was really say a hurricane was coming. Yes, it's hurricane season. So I'm thinking all of this could have been avoided if things were ordered to come in at a better time than October 15th.
Right. But there are some parts too that, and not to get too technical and not to dismiss what you're saying, there are custom-made pieces. The boilers go in place. You have to have these pieces made. The boilers are from Germany. You have to have these pieces made, manufactured, shipped here, then installed. So you can't just order the whole Honda Accord and have it dropped in this room and us put it together. The flues are custom made, all the piping is custom. So I understand your point, like, hey, shouldn't I have this sitting here in August? Well, the parts and pieces that aren't custom made were sitting here. But once the structures of the boilers get built, placement of everything, figuring out how we're going to exhaust out of the building, there was some back and forth with the engineering, the architects, us as a construction firm, the school department, how we were going to vent the boilers at the high school. By the time we got that settled, everything was measured, made, delivered, and here we are today.
And
You're welcome.
thank
And
you.
it was actually the flues themselves that were the thing that was delayed, correct?
Correct. The flues were delayed, and the decision on when we had an engineer come out and look at the chimney at the high school, which we decided not to go in the chimney with the new flues to vent them straight through the roof. That was between the engineer, us, and the architect, and next gen. That takes time to get that answer. Engineer's got to look at everything. We've got to make sure that what we want to do works. We got the okay for that, and then we go ahead and measure it, order it,
Fortunately,
and install it.
things aren't often as they're drawn on paper. Once you start opening up the ceiling to figure out how you're actually going to run flues and other things, pre-existing conditions kick in, and you have to re-engineer, redesign things in the field. So that really is fun.
Hi, Kel.
I'm going to piggyback on Mrs. Sumner's question, because I heard something tonight at the soccer field about odors in the art room, as you know about earlier today in the art meeting. And can you also talk a little bit about the odors that we were experiencing in the gym and the commons area? Mrs. Sumner wasn't specific about where the odors were coming from or what complaints were, but there certainly is some odors in the
The odors, I believe that the odors that you speak of that were in the common, concentrated on the boys' locker room area in the gym. There were, people had said, it's mold. So as Peter had said, we went ahead and did a mold test, and the mold is negative. Since then, I know Mike and the staff have really cleaned the boys' locker room, and it has reduced that smell that was emanating from it.
Was part of it, did part of it have to do with the roof leaking?
No,
No.
the part of it is
Just coincidental?
a boys' locker room. It's the best way I can explain it.
Maybe it was the boys.
I'm not going there.
No, I mean, I played football my whole life. It smelled like a boys' football locker room.
Okay.
But that was where we came, what we evolved into the mold test that we have ran.
Okay. I'm sorry, could you just introduce yourself? Sorry.
I can't tell you what made them vomit, but I know what we tested today, and my test results tomorrow are test out for nuisance dust and silica.
Chief?
And I don't want to question that, but do you know firsthand that students were vomiting? Because I was up, because I was up in the office area the entire time, and although I saw students with watery eyes and complaining of headaches and throats, I didn't experience it. So I'm not doubting it, but I guess I want to check that to be safe.
I certainly heard asthma.
Right. We had a lot of reactions to the dust, and that's what we were experiencing. I would say the 30 students that I saw get dismissed had those reactions. I did not see anyone with vomiting. And again, I'm not denying it didn't happen, so it's hard for me to respond to it. I could say more in the sense I saw kids' reactions to dust, a serious amount of dust, where the symptoms we've already discussed was there.
So the most plausible explanation would be that the dust from the bricks that was brought into the school is an irritant. There's no question about that. It is, as far as we know, a non-toxic irritant, according to all of the hazmat people, OSHA regulations, etc. That doesn't mean that it's not an irritant that couldn't trigger watery eyes, coughing, much as if you, so if you, I don't know, even poured a bag of flour and it all kind of comes up in your nose, you're going to start sneezing. That is the most plausible explanation, and that is why not only are we testing for any kind of fumes on an ongoing basis, but also actually testing to see if there is residual dust that would need to be addressed, and more better than that, actually trying to clean up anything that might still be there. Now, you'd sort of have to kind of intuitively say, well, it needs to be aerosolized again, and certainly we wouldn't want to do that, and that's why you use a special technique to actually clean that dust up. So that's what the whole kind of abatement of this evening is that, sorry? The filters of the, so the dust came into the system from a heater that was basically taking in the dust from the cutting of the brick. That heater is gone, and sleeps with the fishes. So any new heaters that are going to be used in the high school after tonight are coming from the middle school, where they've been completely vetted. Even they were already tested and were working fine and seemed to be functioning to heat the school well. And those were tested again today, and will be brought up to try and keep the high school warm for really just Thursday, hopefully. When we'll next be in session and relying on those. So, I don't know, Chief Lloyd, did you have something else that you could add?
I understand everyone's feeling. I just want to do my best to try to alleviate that for you. We did have a new arrive. That was some of the complaints we had, that there was nausea, vomiting, eye irritants, headache, dizziness. All of these things that led us to that, led us to be able to test for the compound that we were able to find that was pointed us in the direction to the heat. So my understanding when we talked to the hygienists, we talked to the hazmat people, everything, those symptoms are normal that come from that. It is what gave us that heat, but over time as they're exposed to fresh air and such, there will be no long-term effects from it. I will tell you, I take my position as fire chief very, very seriously, and the protection of your family is just as important as it was my family. If I felt there was any reason whatsoever that their children should not be back in this school, I would be the one standing up here following the school. But I came to those conclusions as testing, and they are doing the next test for the dust that we're talking about is exactly what I would force them to do if, no matter what that test comes back to. So I think the most prudent thing is what I believe the council, not council, excuse me, school committee, sorry.
You can go talk to them
Is
again.
working towards is that they need another day to be able to get their grants online and be able to do the cleanup and make sure your children are safe. Let me shut them off.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
Hello, Will Gerlach, I was with the Wood. I'm the vice president of the sophomore class. You know, before I say anything, I can speak to exactly, I was in there, I can speak to exactly what that school is like, what people are experiencing. I personally, I felt burning in my lungs, I was short of breath, and I was a raging headache. Lots of other people experienced the same thing. I saw people with eyes swollen, red, skittering, and I was in the nurse's office where at one point there were over 50 people in there. And I saw students vomit, and I left that tent, so I assume there were more.
Okay.
I mean...
Are you feeling better now, Will?
Yes, absolutely, yes, definitely. I mean, as far as my question goes, I mean, I've heard the word safety thrown out a lot of times, like the safety of our students is high priority, safety of our faculty is high priority. But I also think the responsibility is not only the safety, but the well-being of the people in that building. And I haven't heard that from us, and I think that was ridiculous. It is not in our best interest to be in that school. And just because something is impossible doesn't mean it's good for you. And I mean, at what point is the line drawn? Right? It's not. It may not be dangerous, may not be harmful, but at what point is well-being drawn?
Oh, I think we drew the line when we dismissed. I mean, you know, because you can't anticipate, certainly couldn't have anticipated the dust. And we've had a couple of emergency meetings, and I think your point is very well taken, that it's not just safety, but it's well-being, and it's really, is it a good learning environment? I would hope to think that that's part of the reason Dr. Sanchioni has made a decision not to have school tomorrow. Very point well taken. Thank you, Will.
How you doing?
Hi.
Tom Rigo. Just one thing. I know when you're cutting masonry, worked in the union 25 years. Doing any kind of masonry work in the ventilation area with the sectioned off, not supposed to be sucked in.
Is it wet too? Does it sometimes do they do wet cutting?
It's supposed to be moisturized. There's supposed to be no dry dust whatsoever. If it's so, they open that mask and the ocean.
Thank you. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. Is that not live? High school. The cutting will have to continue at some point.
Cutting is complete.
You know whether it's possible building
100%. Yes.
contingencies now for health and speeding. Has this happened before in schools or in municipal areas that you work that you have to plan now going into the winter season? That you could be impacting on health and environment, but definitely heating. Are you responsible for heating the building? As you went right now with the parks complex?
Yes, we are responsible.
We've had experience with schools before. We've had to heat for the temperature temporary, typically we don't see this type of weather. We're talking 28 degrees on October 25th or 6th, you know, so we're seasonally low. But typically, we're usually online, or we do our best to get online before this time. In some cases, we've had to bring in temporary boilers to get that, to make that happen, you know. How are you monitoring feedback from individual buildings, administrators, staff, et cetera, in your individual locations on what is considered improper use of the building?
Peter, do you have any, how are you monitoring the?
As far as, Steve, you asking about the staff?
Or just different parts of the building? No, that's okay.
I think my understanding is that there's a general area of heating in the hopes that they'll circulate to classrooms and offices. If it isn't working in an individual classroom and office, how is that communication related to whoever at the building level? Is the building principal, does the building principal have a contact to go to? And then usually needs to say, hey, room 204 is down 55 degrees. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. It's very difficult, I think, what your job is to individually keep all of those areas at a proper level. But it's also important that people are heard.
Absolutely.
If it's not at a problem.
So Steve, I don't know, did you hear, we have one more day and then the boilers will be on Thursday night? But that's it.
And they're already out here.
Right, they're already on here, but, so that's a good question. So what procedure were people using to make sure that, okay, it's 57 in the art room, but it's.
Because I think part of it is that people are being heard in situations like this.
So we do,
I can.
It can be dealt with quickly and say, oh yeah, Mr. Smith's room, they're taking care of it, we heard about it. That's all I'm trying to say, because you might all of a sudden, once again, as this young student, you know, so you know, people don't care, you know. So I understand, if you have a protocol in place to address it, you have a contingency plan to adequately keep the building, the parts are coming in, catalog's going to be running in 2 days. Sounds good. Thank you.
No, that is a good point. I mean, we do have one more day, and we don't want to see, I mean, hopefully anything else, you know. I mean, clearly we couldn't have anticipated this morning, but.
We normally check the heaters every day.
Yeah.
We fill them up twice a day. We have an oil company that comes and fills them up every day. So basically, we take our marching orders from all board. They'll say, Dave, you know, turn the heat on. And we're looking at the weather. You know, we came in Sunday night. We worked all day Sunday, so we're trying to spot check. If we get feedback that says something, we try to make adjustments. You know, we work with the staff in the school, facilities guys, and we try to move the heat.
And for notification as he's stepped upon, I am the contact for Peter, Mike, Chris, Sue. Any problem they have, either call me, email me, text me. It comes to me, and I pass on to the subcontractors, make the decision what I'm going to do to change things to make sure everything is adequate and safe. But as he was stating on how it works, I would take my orders and my information about problem areas from each head of the school, being the principals or also sometimes Peter. Mike, I'm always in contact with Mike also.
So we have no school tomorrow, and we have one more day. One more day. So we have one more day to get through, and you know, but I don't want to in any way marginalize how well you all work together. The fire chief and your hazmat team, and thank you to that New Bedford team, and to all of you. And I know your phone was lighting up all morning, as was ours. So it was, you know, it was a real concern, and I thank all of you because you were the ones who were in place and tried to deal with it. To make sure our staff, make sure our children were safe, get them out of the building, and when you felt they weren't, and make sure you mitigated, you know, the situation.
Yeah, of course.
I would just like to respond to Mr. Gerlach's question, and just to let you know, it may not have seemed at your level that things were moving quickly. I can tell you the time I arrived, and I can tell you where all the things have started. Once we were notified, the superintendent immediately came down, we met with the principal. You have to understand, there are 500 kids in the school. He was very concerned with how to move you all out of here in a safe manner and make sure that your families knew where you were and you were going. So perhaps on your level, it didn't seem like there was, but there was an awful lot of discussion. I would tell you there was a very loud and voiceless discussion in there to make sure that we took care of the needs of what all of you had to put you safe, not only in the school, but once he released you from the school. So I know that was taking place. Then there's also, he has to get all the buses there to be able to get everybody home. So it may not have seemed like a lot of things were in motion. The wheels started moving very quickly once we had sat and we had an idea. So I hope that gives you some comfort. We were not just, let's send everybody home and get them out. And I will, for, the superintendent and everybody involved, they really did. That was it. He and we had a very close discussion, because I'm like, we need to move here, but I gotta make sure I get them all to a safe place. So that was his overriding concern, okay?
Dr. Walker?
Yes, Ms. Spark.
And just on that point, many people through all my years have said, I see empty school buses, you're wasting our money, why are these empty, and I said, if something happens, every single student in that school has to have a ride home. We can't say, oh, Johnny, I'm sorry, your mother dropped you off, you have to stay here. No, it's right away, and they're all on the bus, and they're all safe, and we all can say, your child's on the bus, he's on the way to your house, he's not going over here and over there. It's so important, it's so involved, and as I said, the safety is so important. So when people said to me all through the years, I'm sorry, there's empty school buses, this is one of the reasons why. And it's not, it's just one of those things that happens in schools, and you have to be ready. Thank you.
Mr. Larkin, I just have one
Yep,
question. I
sure.
might have missed this. When will all the test results be
Tomorrow afternoon.
brought back?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow afternoon. Okay.
Tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
And thank you again to everyone for working together as a community, and that's what we do. Thank
So
you,
again-
Steve Lloyd, you're awesome.
Yep, I'd like to acknowledge certainly the staff, teaching and non-teaching of the high school, as well as Mr. Mendes, Chief Lloyd, Mr. Ashley, Ms. Baldock, and Dr. Sanchioni for really working hard to sort of resolve a situation that was of great concern to all of us, and to Drew and Jude and Tom, Dave. Tom is sort of like Dave.
Can I just
For all
ask
your work. Yes,
Dr.
thank you.
Sanchioni, how is our communications director going to communicate the close of school tomorrow?
Done.
Done? Okay.
And I'd like to thank the school nurse for seeing all those
Yes.
children in that line.
Props
Yep.
to her.
Going around the corner.
Yep.
Very good. Yep.
So we have one final housekeeping issue, which is either putting off until our next scheduled meeting, which is, I believe, November 13th, or trying to reschedule our regular meeting for either later this week. We will avoid Wednesdays, Mrs. Black, or sometime next week. Isn't next Wednesday Halloween?
Yes, it is.
Can we do Tuesday?
Well, we couldn't
How
possibly.
about the 30th?
Tuesday, yeah, sure. Tuesday's election day?
No.
Tuesday?
No,
Still
no,
Oh,
not
Tuesday
yet.
the
The
6th?
30th.
October
Okay,
30th.
that's fine with me.
Tuesday, yeah.
Works for me.
Tuesday, October 30th. It doesn't work for me, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
29th?
29th?
Hang on.
That's good for me.
Peter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
That's
that
okay.
good?
Yes, I can do the 29th.
Monday the 29th? So next Monday will be our regularly scheduled, well, not really regularly scheduled,
We'll just
our next meeting.
And we'll be same agenda, so we'll be made at 6:30 in executive session, and then we'll continue. Okay.
Yeah, we need to check with Mr. Robinson, make sure he can,
Oh, okay. But,
okay.
so the
Pending
30th.
that.
Yep,
The
pending
30th.
that. Okay, the 30th.
The 29th, not the 30th.
Oh, I'm sorry,
29th.
29th,
I
yeah.
can't do the 30th.
Yeah.
Don't make it the 30th. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?